The subject matter of the research. Developing a good research topic may not be easy for you, but it is an important skill. Your teacher may assign you a particular topic, but often requires you to choose a topic that interests you. In this lesson, you are given the guidelines in selecting a good topic. Other factors affecting in choosing and writing your research are topics that need to be avoided. This will help focus clearly on your subjects. Likewise, the sources of information are important for you to know where your research topic may come from. In the previous lesson, you learned to illustrate the importance of qualitative research across fields of inquiry. Research can be conducted in any field of knowledge. So whatever field you belong, you can freely choose the basic research approaches, either the scientific, naturalistic, or mixed. The areas of disciplines that are classified into soft and hard sciences assist you to understand where you really fit. This will guide you into the next learning of designing a research project and writing a title. What is a research title? The most important element that defines the research problem, and it is usually read first and most read part of the research. It contains the least words enough to describe the contents in the purpose of your research paper. It can be revised any and many times as the research develops and reaches its final phase. It becomes final on its final defense before the panel of judges. The elements of research title. A part of a research title has the following information. The subject matter or topic to be investigated. So answering the question what? The place or locale where the research is to be conducted. So in our previous lesson, we discussed it already about the population and the sample. That is answering the question where. The population like the respondents, interviewees. So who? So for example, you are targeted as senior high school student, or for example, barangay officials, housewives, engineers, and so on. The time period of the study during which the data are to be collected, or when. So your targeted date. So an example, of course, is for a subject matter, for example, the teaching of mathematics. For the place or local in the high school of province Rizal province. No? Time period during the school year 1989-1990 or 2020-2021. Population as perceived by teachers and students. For the subject matter, the effects of the use of cell phones on the academic performance. For the population to senior high school student, place or local at the Department of Education, time period during the first semester school year 2020-2021. What are the rules in choosing a research topic? Okay? So, number one, interest in the subject matter. So, interest in a subject drives you to research, investigate, or inquire about it with full motivation, enthusiasm, and energy. So, because it's too easy for us to do research, if we had a previous background or idea with regards to the topic that you wanted to research on or to investigate on. Number two, availability of information. Information will serve as evidence to support your claims about your subject matter from varied forms of literature like books, journals, and newspapers, among others, is part and parcel of any research work. So, at present, since we are in this situation, in pandemic, so most of the time, we are looking with the information through net, right? So, what to include in the investigation of the available materials? Number one, we need to look for the update, no, in the and authority of the materials. The copyright dates of the materials is also important. Are they new or old? It depends upon to the type of our research. So for historical, of course, old, still okay, no? Expert or qualification of the writers of reading materials about your topic. So you need also to consider the validity and reliability of research, no? Or even the author. Timeliness and relevance of the topic. So this will be the question, no? How relevant is the topic? So maybe it yields results that are useful in society later on. Because during your defense, maybe some panelists now asking uh, how it helps with our community or with our society. And maybe how related to the present, except, of course, for pure and or historical research. Of course, again, the timeliness and relevance for related to the present as much as possible, except for pure and historical research. Limitations on the subject. So, connect your choice with course requirements. You need to decide on one topic to finish your course. Of course, for example, if your field is in HE, so therefore, your research is more focused on the home economics field. But if you are an IT practitioner or ICT, I think you must focus with the IT applications. But for you, if you are on STEM, either allied health, engineering, mathematics, and others. For humanities, maybe legal, no? Or for example, media, no? For UMS, no? You're focused with that, as I mentioned earlier. For ABM, na of course more on business, no? Marketing, office administration, managers, leadership, and so on. Personnel or personal resources. Do an assessment on your research abilities in terms of your financial standing, health conditions, mental capacity, needed facilities, and time schedule to enable you to complete your research. This will be the most important also, not to consider the personal resources. You have to raise an amount of money needed to spend on questionnaire, printing, and interview trips. But at present, as I mentioned, no, a while ago, that uh, you are allowed to use, for example, Google Form, no, in your questionnaire. But of course, for qualitative research, for example, better for you to have a face-to-face interview. The research topics to be avoided. Again, the controversial topics. It depends more on the writer's opinion, leading to biases. Facts cannot support this topic. Number two, highly technical subjects, not advisable for beginners, as these topics require an advanced study, technical knowledge, and skills. Again, if you are a beginner, it is not advisable for you to do research about highly technical subjects. Hard to investigate subjects happen if there are no available reading materials about it and if such materials are not up to date. Too broad subjects, it prevents you from to focus on the subject matter of the paper and narrow down or limit the subject to eliminate the problem. Number 5, too narrow subjects. Subjects that are so limited where an extensive is necessary. Number 6, baggy subject. Titles beginning with indefinite adjectives such as several, many, some, and others, as in some remarkable traits of a Filipino or several people's comments on the RH law are vague enough to decrease the reader's interest and curiosity. Sources of research topic. Again, as I mentioned earlier, mass media communication, no? Like press, newspapers, ads, TV, radio, films, and others. Book, internet, peer-reviewed journals, and government publications. Number three, professional periodicals like College English Language Teaching Forum, English Forum, The Economist, Academia, Business Circle, Law Review, Computing Sciences, and so on. General periodicals such as Reader Digest, Women's Magazine, Panorama Magazine, Time Magazine, World Mission Magazine, and others. Number 5, previous reading assignment in your other subjects. And number 6, work experience. Clues to a researchable topic from full-time or part-time jobs or on-the-job training experience or field of work or and others. So this will be the references for quarter 1, module 3, lesson 1. Okay? So we may proceed to lesson 2. The research problem and research question. Having a problem makes you anxious that pushes you to exert efforts on finding a solution. There will be doubts that you are uncertain of your solution, thus conducting a research is the best thing to do. Doing a research always begins with a problem which points you to a topic to look at. Getting the background and establishing your research question that causes the problem is a hint to start knowing what your problem is all about. So in this lesson, you have to study the concept of research problems and research question including its scope and delimitation, cite the significance. So in the previous lesson, no, you learn to know how to choose research topics and write a title. So following those rules and what to avoid has guided you to create a good topic for your research. You have the sources of research topics which you can use to find a researchable topic. Even your work experience can be a clue to a research topic which relate to daily life situation. So, what you need to know. So, what is a research problem? A problem is any significant, perplexing, and challenging situation, real or artificial, the solution of which requires reflexive thinking. Because in research, it is known as the research topic or research title. An illustration showing the description between a research topic, research problem, purpose statement, and research question. So as what we have here, the general, for example, a research topic is the broad subject matter of the study. So the topic, for example, is distance learning. A research problem is a general issue or concern about the research that narrow the topic. So for the research problem, lack of learners' knowledge about distance education. Okay? Then a purpose of the study used to address the problem, purpose statement, to study why learners do not attend distance education classes in a college. Then specific, a research question narrows the purpose into specific questions that the researcher would like to answer in the study. And that is the research question. Does the use of website technology in the classroom deter learners from enrolling in a distance education class? Okay, so the do's and don'ts. So explain the importance. So this will be the DOS, no? Explain the importance of your research topic. Talk about the main development and missing link in gaps in your research area. So it is important for us to define or to identify the missing link and the gaps in the research area. Talk about the main development and missing link in gaps in your study. Engage your findings in a chronological finding. So, you say chronological in sequence. So, either, for example, if you are doing a historical research, for example, from 1995, 96, 97, 98, 99, or either from latest to old, no? So, 2000 to 1999, and so on and so forth. Articulate your ideas in a clear and concise manner and engage the readers by building a story around the research. Then the don'ts, write a background that is too long or short. So as I mentioned, you need to consider the reader. Okay? Be ambiguous in your writing, disorganize and discuss unrelated subjects. So as much as possible, again, in getting your review of literature, it must be directly related with your proposal or with your research. Forget the reader may be not familiar with the details of your work, and forget to provide a historical perspective, and forget to check your target journal's instructions of presentation, the study background. So, purpose statement and research question. A series of questions used in researching the topic. It is composed of, so this will be the consideration for you to develop a statement of the problem. The general statement of the problem or the purpose statement, and the specific or sub-problems or sub-questions or the research questions. So, if you wanted to look into the guidelines, visit Guidelines in Writing the Statement of the Problem according to Calderon and Gonzalez in 1993. The general statement of the problem in the research question should be formulated first before conducting the research. Yes, no? You need to state first your statement of the problem. Research question should be stated in the interrogative and it should be clear to avoid confusion. Again, it must be written or stated through interrogative. Each research question should be researchable separately from the other questions and must be based upon known facts and phenomena which is accessible to the researcher. Again, based upon known facts and phenomena. Number 4, answer to each research question can be interpreted apart from the answers to the other specific question and must contribute to the development of the whole research study. The summary of the answers to all the specific questions will give a complete development of the entire study, and the number of research questions should be enough to cover the development of the whole research study. So example, general statement. This research aims to develop an evaluation model of web-based tools used in the test administration of grade 11 and 12 students. Specifically, it aims to answer the following question, that is specific or sub, no? Number 1, what are the commonly used web-based tools used in test administration? Number 2, how are these web-based test tools evaluated? Number 3, how could evaluation model be designed for web-based test administration? This will be an example of a sub-problem or sub-question. The scope and delimitation of the study. Okay? So, it is a coverage of the research to be explored which includes the facts and theories about the subject. So, example, no? Example of a scope of the study. A research study on the impact of social networking on the attitude of senior high school learners. It is not possible to cover all aspects of the selected subject. The scope will have to be restricted to a specific section of the target population over a specified duration. Or in the above cited study, a group of 40 learners in senior high school at one particular school would be an ideal coverage to study their attitude for 5 months. How about the delimitation of the study? Again, we define this one as it limits the scope and outlines the boundaries of the study. This limitation include the following. The sample size. The research design and method will determine whether if it is a small or a large sample. The sample size will determine the quality of data in the relationship that will be identified among the variables. So, in statistics, no, we study the population size, the sample on, for example, if you have a large populations, so what you're going to do for you to have a sample size, and so on. Number 2, lack of available and or reliable data. This will limit the scope of analysis in the ability of the researcher to determine meaningful trends in relationship among the data. Lack of prior studies. This will limit the effectiveness of the literature review and initial understanding of the research. Chosen data collection method. The quality of data collected must be clear to avoid erroneous answers from the respondents. Number 5, nature of the information collected. Researchers should not rely on the pre-existing data. Okay, of course, what you're going to do is to research on. Research and research and research. Number 6, access. So the amount and quality of available data will depend on the ability of the researcher to access people, organizations, libraries, and documents. So, time period, it is advisable to select a research problem and design. Then bias, the researcher should be aware of his or her personal biases. And language, this may have an effect on the data collection, especially if the researcher is involved with respondents that speak a variety of languages. So for example, your research conducted in other provinces and they were not totally knowledgeable or they were not able to understand Tagalog. So therefore, as much as possible, we are going to use an English language. Or you just try to look for a person who could help you to understand, to translate the Tagalog or English into their native language. When writing the paper, the researcher should ensure that any delimitation factor is noted down at the introduction, discussion, and conclusion sections. He or she should clarify why the study included and excluded some delimitation. So, significance of the study. The significance of the study discuss the purposes that the research will serve to society, the country, and government. The institution or agency concerned, the curriculum planners and developers in the research community. So, describe the contribution of the study to the existing body of knowledge. So, it could be the following. A form of new knowledge in the field. Because during your defense, your panel maybe ask you, so, what will be the new knowledge of your research? A validation of the major findings of the other study. A verification of the validity of findings in the different population. Analysis of trends over time and validation of other findings using different methods. So the researcher must identify specifically the beneficiaries who will directly gain from the result of the study, mentoring them in the paper according to the significance of the results. The specific benefits must also be enumerated and explain if necessary. So as much as possible, you need to identify who benefited your proposal or your research study. Okay, so example, of course. For example, the title is The Effects of Computer-Assisted Instruction in the Performance of Students in Asian History and Civilization. So, this will be the findings, for example. Then, how benefit or how beneficial to the students, to the administrator, and to the teachers. So, it is stated here. Okay. Presenting written statement of the problem. So the following section compose the presentation of the written statement of the problem. So introduction states briefly the background of the study and identifies the rationale of the research problem. Again, states briefly. So one page or 2 pages will do. It begins with a general statement of the problem, outlines the specific problem or issue within the existing literature. So you need to read a lot of related literature based on your target title. For a statement of the problem, state clearly the purpose or interest of the study, poses specific questions about research problem. For the scope and delimitation, sets the boundaries and parameters of the study, narrows the scope of the inquiry. And for the significance of the study, shows the benefits of the study to address issues and problems in improving economic and health conditions or even finding solutions to problems encountered in daily life. So, of course, this will be the references. And I just want to say thank you to DepEd or Department of Education for crafting this research or practical research one. So, thank you. And I think now you are capable or you are now able to create your chapter 1. So, what will be the content of your chapter 1? Again, you must include, of course, the important is you have a title. Then right after your title, you need to compose the introduction, statement of the problem, scope and delimitation, and the significance of your study. Thank you and good day, everyone.